Okay, welcome to Chorcha's first ever podcast, and we have our first ever guest with us, Chanel Clark. Welcome, Chanel.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you, and thank you so much for agreeing to, have a conversation with us. Thank you so much. So Chanel is the founder of the Marketing Club, spread across Australia and New Zealand, and she works for herself as a marketing consultant. And she's got experience of over 10 years in marketing in various domains, which is great. Oh my God.
It's a long time.
I've just started. And okay, how I met her. It's a very funny story. I just messaged her on LinkedIn. I saw her post and I was like, oh my God, she's so cool. I'll message her. And then I was like, hey, I would love to record a podcast with you. So yeah, that's how we met. And this is the first time we are meeting in person. So yes, how are you, Chanel? How's everything?
Good. It's been a busy day, but a good day. And I love doing stuff like this. So thank you.
Oh, amazing. That's great. So should we first introduce our audience with what TMC is?
Mm-hmm.
So TMC is basically a community of over 8,000 amazing marketeers spread across Australia and New Zealand. So now we can start the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does a community mean to you from a marketing point of view, and how do you define a successful community?
I think, community to me, I think over the years, it's definitely changed. I think when I initially understood community, it was sort of like just a group of people who were hanging out, maybe had similar interests or whatever, kind of like friends, right? Whereas now that I've sort of started using community building and marketing, I think it's definitely more around, shared interests, shared values, shared purpose, and then like what an ultimate goal is that a lot of people sort of, I suppose, bond over, really. And I mean, that's sort of the ethos around the Marketing Club. It's a community of marketers brought together for one shared interest and then basically sharing value with each other.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Interesting. So any example of a great community in marketing?
Ours, obviously. I know over in the UK, there's a group called the Marketing Meetup. They're a community of over 45,000, and they're about 9 years ahead of where we are. So that was sort of like the vision board of who's already doing this really, really well, and then how does me having a crack at it look like?
Yeah, I also was looking up for some great communities. So I was having a look at this brand called Keek, and it's by Steph, Claire Smith, and Laura Henshaw. And I think they're influencers, and they have their own run club in Keek. So I think which is a great way of forming a community. Like you're doing something together. That's also the idea of a community, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, this is very interesting. What were you thinking when you started the TMC, and what was your purpose? Like, was there a gap that you were feeling, or something in the industry that you felt, oh, I need this?
I think when I started it, I didn't really truly know what I was starting, to be honest. I was just a young marketer coming up in my career. I was going to some events that existed within the industry at the time, and I was like, cool, this will be the way that I'll get to meet people and sort of, bond over, people who understand what I do as a job, because obviously none of my friends did, my partner didn't. And I was like, right, like these people know what marketing is. And I would go to these events, and quite often I would be the only female there. I would be the only person under 30 there. And even like listening to some of the topics that I talk about, it was super interesting, like aspirational, inspirational around brands who had like $20 million marketing budgets. But it just felt so far off from where I was in my career. And I remember leaving one of those events and I was like, right, what would better than this look like in terms of community, in terms of networking, in terms of being able to meet people my own age? And I sat on the idea for about a year when I started it. Yeah, when I started it in New Zealand. New Zealanders don't really join things. We're very much known as a DIY nation. We don't like admitting what we don't know. We don't like asking for help. So I was like, okay, great idea, wrong market. But then after sitting on it for a year, I remember I actually spoke at an event once, and I thought, right, if I announce to this whole room that I'm going to build it, then I have to actually go and do it, because I've literally said it, like,
exactly,
forced by pressure.
Yeah.
So I announced it. thought it was just going to be a Slack community. Genuinely thought maybe we'd get 20 to 30 marketers. We'd, talk online on Slack. We'd maybe meet up once a month for a coffee, and that would sort of be it. And within the first week, we had 180 people join the Slack community alone. And I was like, oh God, this is like way bigger than I thought already. Which seems crazy now that we're like a community over 8,000. But at the time, I underestimated how much that sense of community and networking was needed in the industry. I thought people would only really care about going to events or, having conversations with like big marketers that everyone knew, like who, at the time I questioned like, who am I to start a marketing club? Like I'm, just coming up in my career. I'm not some like go-to marketer that everyone knows in New Zealand. But I guess over the years, I've sort of adopted the mindset of like, well, why couldn't I do it? Why not me? And I thought, right, I'll just do the thing. And then, it's just progressively grown and grown and grown, and obviously snowballed now into what it is today, and launching in Australia as well, which has been really cool, but like definitely wasn't part of the plan. The Aussie launch was purely because marketers were basically begging for me to do something here.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, I think I've still got the email to someone. I remember saying like, surely you guys have something over there. Like, Australia is 10 times the size of New Zealand. Someone would have done something like this. You're just not looking hard enough. And then I went away and did some research, and I was like, oh, it's actually nothing similar to what we do. And if there are, I can't find it. So I thought, right, okay, sure. Like, you guys can have your own marketing club too. And again, thought it would just be Slack. Then within the first like 2 or 3 weeks, there were hundreds of people, but the actual community will run on Slack in terms of being able to talk to each other. We've got all the different channels of, podcast recommendations or resource or newsletters you should sign up to, or even jobs that are going at the moment. So that was where I thought the community would live. I thought it'll just be an online community. It's 24/7 support and access to other marketers. And then very quickly, everyone was like, yeah, it's cool to chat online, but how do we meet each other in person? When are you doing events? And I was like, oh, that's like so part of the plan. I was like, shit, we need to do events. And then we did like some social networking events, which was really cool because people got to meet each other in person and, walk into a room and realize that, there's 100 other marketers here from all walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds, etc. So that was really cool. And then after about 3 or 6 months, everyone was like, like the social networking events are fun, but like when are you doing an educational event so I can learn something from someone? And I was like, that was always part of the plan. And I was like, oh my God, now we need to like find speakers and venues. And it kind of just blew up from there. But it was because we were asking the community what they wanted and then doing it based off that. I wasn't trying to come in and be like, this is what I think we should be. I was like, what do you want? What is the value that you're missing? Even into Slack, like what channels do you want us to do? What kind of conversations do you want to have? Or who do you want to hear from? You guys tell me what brands to reach out to or marketers you want me to reach out to, and I will like kill myself to get them in for you. So that was pretty much what snowballed it, was because it felt like the community was building itself at that point.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a great way, like the democratic way of things.
Well, it gives people a sense of ownership, right? Like I'm always, whenever I talk about the marketing club, yes, I had the idea and I started it, but I'm not the only one that's built it. 8,000 marketers have now built it. And I'm always very aware that without them giving their feedback and suggestions, there's no way we'd be as big as we are.
Wow. Well, appreciate it. Can you relate personal branding with building a community like you gave birth to TMC, right? And do you consider it to be your personal branding as well?
Yeah, I think I would be silly not to realize that the marketing club wouldn't be as big as it is now if I didn't have my personal brand attached. Like I had very much unknowingly started building my personal brand on LinkedIn. So I kind of built a following of other marketers who were like, oh, okay, like she's kind of interesting. She says some cool stuff sometimes.
That's how I
So I think like that got people to know me first, which was good. And then once I said like, okay, so, you guys understand who I am, what's important to me. Now I'm going to build this group. It sort of just diverted everyone to be like, oh, okay, so now she's building this group. This sounds really cool. Like I want to be a part of it. So I think while I didn't necessarily know that was going to happen, because at the time I had no understanding of what personal brand really was, I just thought I was like posting on LinkedIn like it was a diary entry, and that was as far as my thought process got, but then to kind of look back and be like, oh wow, I was building my personal brand. That was kind of what got people in the door of, if you've already done this thing and we trust you, then the next thing you do, we're probably going to trust you with that as well.
Yeah.
And then it's really helped me with my consultancy work too, because while I sit as a strategic level marketer to help brands and businesses grow, whether it's like marketing strategy or activity and, execution ideas, it's been a really good selling point for me to tell them, like literally on calls, I'll say, look, this is what I do. Here's what I don't do. But I've got a community of 8,000 and I guarantee you I can find someone in there that does that. And it's been a good value add for me as well, because then I've been able to get people within the community work with my clients, or, they've got each other work, and it's basically like this little, 8,000 member dream team of if you want someone for SEO or PR or econ, and everyone's already worked together, so they already know each other. And I'm like, it's such a cool feeling to have facilitated that.
Yeah.
Even if I don't get anything out of it, even if I'm just the master connector, I'm like, that just feels like amazing.
Yeah. You're doing something for the society.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Great. So, and that's how it has shaped your career and credibility as well, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely think since launching the Marketing Club, I would say I've become more of a thought leader. And I don't like those words, but it is basically more of a thought leader in the marketing space. So, it's helped me with my consultancy, but then it also means that when we're sort of figuring out what events to do for the Marketing Club, people already trust me as a marketer. They know that my finger's on the pulse. They know I'm in the industry. They know I understand what's happening. So when we look at what events we want to do, they trust that it's going to be relevant because I'm the one, I'm in the industry on the ground doing it. Yeah. So I'm like, I hear what you guys are saying. I'm having the same issues. Last year we did events around how to market on a small budget, or, the impact of AI. And it's like, that's because those were issues I was having. And then asked the community, and they're like, oh my God, same, like, please, someone needs to talk about it. I'm like, great, there's our next event that we'll do.
Yeah, wow, okay. So, sorry, just diverting from the topic a bit. So LinkedIn, you said that you were posting in the beginning days, you were posting on LinkedIn like a diary entry.
Yeah.
So how was it for you? Like, was it from within that, oh, I want to post? How did it come?
I hated LinkedIn when I first found out about it. Okay. I was working at an agency, and one of the ladies who was at the agency, because the project that I had at the time, I was doing like marketing for a SaaS product, which I've never done before. So that like threw me into the product and tech world, and I was like so overwhelmed because I've never done product and tech before. But it was really cool to learn. And she said, oh, you're learning so much, you should post on LinkedIn about it. And I was like, oh, what's LinkedIn? And she's like, oh, it's like, how do you not know? Because apparently like everyone was on it at the time. And I went on it and had a look, and I was like, everyone here just feels like they're sharing these highlight reels of like, oh, we just made $1 million, or oh, I did this or did that.
Yeah.
And I've never been that person. So straight away I was like, no, this isn't my platform, because this is not how I feel. Like, I'm never going to come on here and gloat about,
how great I'm doing in life.
And I literally feel like I'm lost in my career. I've got no idea what I'm doing, and every day is like a new challenge. And she sort of supported me and said, well, just lean into that and share that story. And I think now that I look back, it was, I want to say that was like part of the strategy, but it wasn't. I was just mindlessly like, how do I show up on here? What do I want to say? And I think because from the start I was so vulnerable in showcasing, like, look, I don't know what I'm doing on here, but this is the journey that I'm going through. These are the things that I'm learning. I even sort of started figuring out, like if I was posting once a week or twice a week, what did I want to say? I started a tradition, which I still do now, like 3 years later, where on every Tuesday I reflect on the week that was. And I will literally admit, like, this is what I did that didn't work well. This is something I learned. This is someone who inspired me. Here's something I want to do next week. And it was just kind of like my own cathartic process of reflecting on my journey. So LinkedIn kind of became, like I don't journal or anything like that. I thought, right, if this is my platform where it's literally like diary entries every day of here's what I'm doing, here's how it went, or here's something that inspired me, or, an event that I went to, that was just a way, like now I can scroll back all through my LinkedIn and be like, oh my God,
what's doing it?
This was 18 years ago, or, some of the moments I like look back at posts and I'm like, oh, that's so cringe. Why did I post that? But, it's all part of the process. And I think because no one else was posting like that at the time, immediately I stood out. And, you know, I can look back at it now and be like, oh, that was like such a good strategy. But at the time, it wasn't a strategy. I was like, this is how it feels authentically to be me on this platform. And if people don't like it, they won't follow me. But if they do, they will.
Yeah.
And it kind of just snowballed from there.
Wow. Never thought about being on LinkedIn that way, because, of course, as we had a chat, like, LinkedIn is about, you know, posting about highs and posting about what you did, what happened with you, and not something about, okay, what dilemma are you facing at work at the moment?
Yeah.
No one would, and no one is actually posting about that a lot. Like, now it's a different thing. Like, people have started getting vulnerable. People are posting about their face. People are posting about their work dramas. But yeah, very.
Yeah, I always think of it like, as much as LinkedIn is a B2B platform, it's still human beings behind a business, and humans connect with humans, not businesses. So the more that people can talk about, yes, I work for this company, but this is me and how I show up and what I'm doing. Those are the stories, which, I mean, why is, like, you know, you're seeing in content now, founder stories or highlights of staff that work in companies. That's the content that goes viral, because people love putting a human behind a brand before they buy from the brand.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. From, again, a marketing point of view, what mistakes have brands made when they're doing community building? Any mistakes that they usually do?
Yeah, I think it's when they decide they want to build community and they don't really know why they want to do it. You know, it's almost, community building is almost becoming like the mental health buzzword of burnout, right? Like, people are like, oh, we need to build community.
Wow.
We have to do it. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. Have you thought about what that might look like? Why are you doing it? What is the value that you're going to bring? Because if you're doing it purely from a business point of view of like, oh, well, we just want people to come because then we're going to push our product on them. I feel like, you know, humans know straight away when you're doing something that's not authentic. So I think brands and businesses really need to figure out what is the authentic reason behind why we're doing this. And if it's not authentic, then I highly recommend don't doing it.
Yeah.
But then also just like, how do you keep it consistent? Because a lot of brands have these big ideas and they're like, oh, we're going to do monthly events and all this sort of stuff. We're going to partner with these brands, and it's good for maybe 3 or 4 months, and then it falls off the face of the cliff. And then, you know, you've got all these people hyped up and excited about being a part of something. And then just because you have, you know, got your immediate value out of it, or it's a tick box exercise that you're like, oh yeah, the boss wanted me to start a community, so yeah, I did that for 3 months and then now it's out. People, you know, you have to continuously provide value. So I think making sure that if you are going to do it and you've defined why you're doing it, it's a good reason. Are you able to consistently do it? And what does consistency look like? Like, if it's a run club, is it weekly? Is it every day? Could you only do it a month and it becomes something bigger? But just really kind of thinking like, what does this look like for us in a way that makes sense? And then how do we make sure that we continue to deliver on that?
Yeah, like, own it.
Yeah.
Before you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Love it. Okay, last one. How do you see community marketing evolving over the years, and any advice for the young marketers out there?
I think, like, the idea of building community excites me so much. I think it would have excited me even if I hadn't done the Marketing Club, because I, you know, unintentionally built community on LinkedIn without knowing what that was. So I think it excites me so much that brands are probably going to start leaning into it a lot more in ways that make sense for their brand. And I suppose actually asking community what they want. Like, say if Nike started a run club, right? If they're like, oh God, like, here's another sports brand doing a run club.
Yeah.
But if you ask people, you know, like, who do you want to show up at that run club? What are cool places we could have it? Like, I know, I saw on Instagram today, I was like, absolutely trolling through Instagram. But, you know, there was a cafe that did, in Bondi actually, that did a pop-up, like, pre-work DJ party.
Whoa.
And it essentially, like, all they did was they opened their cafe as normal. They got someone to come play music, and it was, you know, come and get a coffee for half price of what you'd normally pay. Bring your friends. It's, you know, this fun way to get your workday started.
Wow.
And so many people are like, oh, that's not going to work. You know, like, no one's going to, you know, go to a little, like, mini, like, DJ rave before work. And they had, like, thousands of people show up.
Oh, my God.
And it's, like, stuff like that where you already know that you've got, you know, you've got an awareness in market. You know what people like. But then how do you build an experience out of that people want to invite other people to or share? And I think that is what excites me the most, is I think we're going to see so many brands thinking about community building in a way that makes sense to them, but also how do you drive value with what you do, and how do you partner with other brands where it makes sense? Because I think like a good example of beautiful community building is when brands collaborate and then you bring your audience together, and then that whole audience becomes one big community rather than trying to do all these little side things. So it just makes me so excited because there's so many cool brands that can do really cool things just by listening to community and asking them what they want.
Did you see the new one, Nike and Skims?
Oh yeah, I mean, like
it's all over today.
Yeah,
it's all over.
Yeah, but like prime example, right? Like Nike was sort of becoming, increasingly not that relevant in the market because Lululemon or Aloe Yoga or whatever were sort of taking over because they were listening to their customers about what they wanted. And then obviously Nike was like, shit, we need to do something. And then it's like figuring out what is a partnership that makes sense, what is a community that we haven't tapped into yet. Like you can already imagine now if you went to a branded event with Nike and Skims is there, it's probably going to be amazing. So it's like being able to identify like who do you tap into to build that community.
Beautiful. So, I mean, honestly, for me, community is a group of people coming together with a purpose. So like want to do something together. So it's not about, so it's not 3Ps for me, it's 2Ps. It's people and a purpose, but not promotions. So yeah, that's great. What is community for you in Align?
I think it's really just like how do you attract the most amount of people in a way that will bring value to them? Like how is what you're doing a value add, not a value suck? And I think so many people are time poor these days. It's really hard to feel like you've got deep connections with anyone because everyone's online all the time and we're hiding behind these screens. So I just think like it's a way to like bring people back out into the real world and have those connections and experiences. And, humans are emotional creatures, right? So the minute that you can connect me, like if you invite me to an event and I feel something and I meet new people and I have this new experience, I'm going to be talking about that for months.
Oh, yes.
So it's way more than one sentence, but
it is amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you for coming and sharing so much, and we learned so much with you. I'm learning with everyone here on Chacha watching us. So yes, thank you so much.
No,
and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's do a cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you.